these Qur'ans, do they parallel the Qur'an we have today? Exactly. Word for word, letter for letter, diacritical mark.
Dot by dot. No.
Can you see? How do we know they don't?
Because Yahya told him.
No, Yahya would not say this. Yahya doesn't know what we're going to do next. Thank God Yahya's up here. He's not a scholar. Don't blame him.
Because people did look at the manuscripts. As they look at the manuscripts, they have seen intentional corrections in the earliest manuscripts.
This is the first man to do exactly what the Muslims should have been doing for the last 1400 years. He asked this question. He did his doctoral thesis, Dr. Dan Brubaker, but it has his middle name. Dr. Dan Brubaker decided in 2010.
Daniel Allen Brubaker.
Daniel Allen Brubaker. He decided in 2010 to do a study looking at the earliest manuscripts to see if there were any variants. That means words or phrases that are different in the Quran we have today from those manuscripts. He was given permission to go to...
realize that all this name he's given, none of them can speak Arabic or read Arabic?
Really?
Dr. Dan Brubaker can speak and read Arabic.
You lie without any shame.
Shame on you.
You lie without any
He reads and
shame.
writes Arabic. And he reads and writes Quranic Arabic, which is better than you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
But here we go. Here we go. Why is it that the Muslims have not done this research? Why have the Muslims not done this research? In 1400 years, it was an American who reads and writes Arabic who had to go to every one of these libraries, every one of the museums, get permission to film them. Now, he was hoping to get maybe one or two variants. By 2014, he finished his doctoral thesis. Guess how many variants he found by 2014? Anybody know? You know.
In 2014, it was only 800.
800. He had found 800 variants in every
5
one.
years ago. That was 5
He
years
found
ago.
hundreds of insertions above and below the line. He found hundreds of erasures. Can you see they erased it? He's found hundreds of erasures overwritten. They erased it, then wrote over top, sometimes in a different ink. Here you can see they've erased it with two words and they replaced it with Qalu, a kaf and a lam. Here they've erased it and they put up another word over top of it. Hundreds of overwriting without erasers. Now, folks, these are the most damaging. The coverings are the worst because the coverings show that these are intentional human changes.
Human changes.
These are human changes. Now, did you notice he then put his first book together? This is the book you can get. We introduced this on May 26th, did we not? On May 26th, we got here and it was published 2 hours before we got up. Am I correct? How many of those corrections did he put in this book?
I wasn't listening. 22.
22. Not 800, but just 22.
He gave us 22, but today he's got approximately 4,000 corrections in 4,000.
22 out of 4,000 that he has found. Now, why is it Muslims say that the Quran has never changed? But hold on a minute. These are not diacritical changes. These have nothing to do with vowels. Remember, we talked about that earlier. Every one of these changes have to do with the consonantal text. These are much more damaging. Now, we introduced them back in May 26. Do we want to go through all of them today?
I can give you a couple of examples. I can give them a couple of examples. This is Surah 5, verse 116. When we look at the manuscripts, we see all those underlined words were edited into the Quranic manuscripts. And it does change the meaning of the words. They edit, did you say to them? Surah 17, verse 52. Intentional insertions into the Quranic manuscripts, and the phrase they insert is, he will call your name and you will answer. Whole sentence was intentional Surah 23 verse 45. The word his brother were inserted. Examples after examples. Human beings correct the eternal word of Allah. Give me some examples, Jay.
Okay, let me show you this one here.
The Bible.
Here you see an insertion. Okay, quiet. Can you see? Can you see this has been added at a later date? It's been added between two letters. That is huwa. It is, okay? Or he is. Okay, third person singular. Why did they put that at a later date? You don't need it there. You can still read it without the huwa being there. So why was this added to the text? At a later date, with a different name, completely different author. The reason why, because with that huwa there, it now parallels the 1924 Hafs text. Hold on to that. This Quran here. Look at this one here. There's lahum. That's plural. It used to be laha. Why do they need lahum? They didn't need it plural. You can perfectly understand it. In laha used to be to him. Now it means to them. So why do they need to change it from laha to him to lahum to them? Because it now parallels the 1924 Hafs text. The 1924 Hafs text.
Or it parallels with what they are reciting and reading today.
Take a look at this page. Can you read this? What does that say up there?
Allah.
What does that say there? Allah. 9 times they had to write the name Allah above the line, adding it at a different date, in a different name. It doesn't need to have Allah there, because it assumes that Allah is already there.
Only this one.
This is the only one that you needed it to get there. So why did they add the name Allah 9 different places? You know the answer?
Maybe I forgot.
I've already told you the answer.
Is it forgotten Allah?
In every case, you do not need the name there. It's already understood it's talking about God. The only reason they wrote Allah in all 9 places was so that it paralleled the 1924 Hafs text. Am I sounding like a broken record?
Can I ask one question?
I think it is very sad. As we look at the earliest manuscripts, we do not see one perfect manuscript.
And I find 31 times in Genesis the word Allah in your Bible. Why? Let him answer.
Yeah.
It's 1 pound.
Where did you leave your ears, Yahya? Listen, he's talking about your eternal book and you messed up again.
In the modern day Arabic Bible, the name Allah is the name for God. Because all over the Arab world, that is the name for God, unfortunately. Now let's go here. What is here? What have you seen? This is an eraser, am I correct? They've erased the word underneath. We don't know what it is. They've not replaced it with anything. What does that tell you? Is this a copyist error? No. Or is this an intentional correction? It's an intentional correction by a human at a later date. They're not even trying to hide it. Can you see what we're showing here? None of these are. Now look at this. This is the cover of the book. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 4 times. Who's got my book, by the way?
Who got your book?
No, the book, this one here.
Come on, raise the book back.
It will come, it will come.
Someone's got it here. Can you see here? 1, 2, 3, 4 times. They have added other words over here. This is the cover of the book here. Hold this a minute.
That's Surah 6 verse 91.
Allah. Allah should not be there. This word should be here. Min Allah. But this one is written in the margin. They forgot to take this one out and replace it, though they wrote it later. There's another one here. Can you say 1, 2, 3, 4 times? They've had to change the text. Why did they change the text 4 times?
Why did they change the text?
Go ahead. What's the reason?
Why?
It now parallels the 1924 Hafs text. For the same reason they've done it for almost every one of these times. Let's continue on. Muslims are trying to tell us that this is merely a scribal error. An entire line has been added between the lines. Why did they add that line there? Because now it parallels 1924 Hafs text.
1924.
Here you can see, here is Sama written above it, the seven. Al-Sama, the seven. The seven what? The seven heavens.
Seven virgins.
The seven heavens. Why was the seven added at a later date? Above the line.
It's a later doctrine.
Because it now parallels the 1924 Hafs text. You still don't get it, do you?
What about the Nile?
In every case, you will see, every case where there's an addition, where there's an insertion, where there's an eraser. Now look here, mithli. There it says mithli. Do you notice it has diacritical marks? It has dots above and below the line. It has vowelation. Can you see the kasra there?
Which must be after.
Can you see the kasra there?
Which must be after.
That is the E sound. That did not exist when this was written. There is no vowelization in any of the script. That was written at a later date, at a later time, in a little bit different dip, with the vowelization in, proving it was written much, much later. Are you following that?
Examples after examples, we see Muslims change their earliest manuscripts and they intentionally correct it.
He still doesn't get it. He still doesn't get it. Now here you have two different manuscripts. You have the Marcel manuscript and you have the British National Library, which is the Petropolitanus manuscript. Two different manuscripts. That is the Marcel manuscript. This is the Petropolitanus. In the same verse, Surah 34, Ayah 35, it has been changed from Qala to Qalu. He says to they said. The exact same changes in two different manuscripts at the same verse at a later date. Here you can see intentional changes to two completely different manuscripts, thousands of miles from each other, and yet they have the same changes. Why did they change from Qala, he said, to Qalu, they said? Because the 1924 Hafs manuscript has Qalu. Are you following there? Are you following me there?
Who made the change and when?
Hold on a minute. You're jumping ahead. You always like to jump ahead. We'll get to that. Hold on. Now tell folks, can you see in every case, let's move on because we have a lot of these. I want you now to go to this one here. Number 20. Here you can see an entire covering. Can you see the covering? With an entire line that has been added over the Doha manuscript in Qatar, Doha, Qatar. And they've rewritten it in a different ink, completely different ink, with different words. Why did they change it and why did they cover it to begin with? Because it now parallels the 1924 Hafs text. Look at this page. This is the Husayni manuscript. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Am I sounding boring to you? Can you see? It's the same answer every time.
Who said liar? The guy studied for a long time. Don't tell him liar. He might.
Thank you. He's converting finally. He's finally converting.
He says I'm not a liar.
You are seeing the evidence by your eyes,
We won't show
sir.
you anymore. We'll show you one last one. Can you see the coverings there? Can you see it there? Can you see it? Yes or no? Can you see a whole thing has been covered right there? Another line has been covered, right? Why did they cover it? And wouldn't you love to pick it up to see what they covered, right? But has it been written in a completely different script? This is a more stylized script, elongated script. A much later script, a much more stylized Kufic script, written at a later time. It is not the same. That's a whole sentence and a half that's been covered over and replaced with three words. Why did they replace it with those three words?
It doesn't
It now conforms to the 1924 Hafs text. Are you starting to get it? So what is this Hafs text? Now we're going to answer your question and we're going to answer your question. Your question is, as long as you look at the Ibn Saud family text, the Saudi text, we follow that. So when did the Saudi text come into existence? Who knows? No, not 1924.
1985? 1985?
Hold on a minute. What do we know happened? In the city of Cairo, in Egypt, just one city, they had a problem. Because whenever they had a test on the Quran, they noticed that every one of the answers from the students in high school was different. Why? Because some had this Quran and some had that other Quran that you have, Husayni's Quran. And you should see, there are 1,347 differences between these two Qurans. How can you have standardized tests in Cairo if you have 1,347 differences between just two Qurans? There were 39 different Qurans being used. Now, how many differences have you found in just 23 of them?
Over 93,000.
Okay, listen, did you hear what she just said? We have looked at 23 of those Qurans. She has 32 of them here in London. And just looking at 23 of them, how many differences has your team found?
There is over 93,000 between those Qurans.
Can you ask her?
93,000!
Can you ask her if she can read
Hatun,
Arabic?
did you do any of this research?
Arabic.
Did you do the
I
research?
did looking.
Did you do the Arabic research?
I give them the references for them to check it.
So did Arab speakers do the research on the words?
Yeah, they confirmed the differences.
So the differences were done by Arab speakers who know Arabic. They were mother tongue Arabic, right? So they were all capable of seeing the differences. Am I correct?
They're all capable to explain the differences, but you don't need to be Arabic speaker to see the differences because they are visional. Just take off your glasses, you can see they are written differently.
Have you seen the ones we've shown you? Do they look different when you erase it? Do they look different when you cover it? Do they look different when you insert words above the lines? When you saw the mithli, does that not change the text? So these are visual. Do any of you speak Arabic? No. But you can see the differences, right? Yes. These are all visual, right? Yes. So you don't need to speak Arabic to see. These are human intentional corrections. Right? Now let's go on.
What's your answer? If I recite the Quran, what do you know?
Okay, here we go. So this was only for the city of Cairo. In 1924, Muhammad Ibn Ali al-Husayni al-Haddad. Remember that name?
It's not the Prophet.
Muhammad Ibn al-Husayni al-Haddad. Can you remember that?
No,
It just drips out of your mouth, doesn't it? He was given the responsibility by the Department of Education of Cairo, only Cairo, to come up with one text, one Quran, only one Quran. If you could open to that page where that.
Did he manage to do so? No.
So he decided that he was going to look and decide. He chose one Quran. Now look at here. He had 39 to choose from. 39 to choose from.
Which one belongs to you? Which one belongs to you?
I like the green.
Now you notice, every one of these have hundreds, thousands. Here's one that has 5,000 differences. These are from 5 different cities. These are students living in the 8th, the 9th, and 10th century. These are not living at the time of Muhammad. This is not at the time of Uthman. This is 144 years and later. Are you following what I'm saying? These students lived in Mecca, Medina, Damascus, Kufa, and Basra. 2 of them are Iraq. That's in Syria. Those are in Saudi Arabia or in Arabia. Now, he had 39 that he could choose from. We have 32 of them today, don't we? You have them. We have found 93,000 differences with just 23 of them. So what did he choose? Which one did he choose? 6,000. How many verses in the Quran?
6,236.
How many?
Okay, here we go.
How many? 6,000.
So which one of these 39 did he choose? Now we know according to tradition, there were 50 different ones, right?
Yeah, so tradition talks about there are 50 different Arabic Qurans in 939, but when they picked the Hafs Quran, they went with the
Hold on, we haven't got to Hafs yet. You've jumped the gun.
I was answering the question on the Egypt.
So which is the one they chose? She's just giving you the answer. This one right here, colored in black. This is the one that Muhammad Ibn Ali al-Husayni al-Haddad chose in 1924. When did he die? 796. What century is that? The late 8th century. How many years after Muhammad? 144 years after Muhammad. 144 years after Muhammad. You don't know your maths. See if I'm correct. 796 minus 632, it's 144 years.
60 something, Jay.
Oh, you're right.
It's even worse.
It's
It's
fine.
Uthman. Sorry, I'm thinking of Uthman. From Uthman to him is 140 years.
It's fine.
Now, here we
you don't need
go.
to to
He
math.
is the Hafs Qur'an. That's the one he chose. Why did he choose Hafs?
Because Hafs is nice looking guy.
Actually, that's not true because we don't know what Hafs look like, but we know we cannot trust the Hafs because Hafs borrowed people's book and intentionally he never returned it. We don't know if he was handsome, but we know Muslims did not trust him. But when it comes to the Quran, they picked the Hafs Quran in the intention that was the Quran which Ottoman Empire, as they conquered the other lands, tried to live with the other people. That was the Quran they were using. Ottoman Empire was using the Hafs Quran. Therefore, lots of countries knew Hafs Quran better than other Qurans. So they picked the Hafs Quran.
So they picked the Hafs Qur'an knowing that he was despised by all the others. He was not even trusted because he would not give back that which he had borrowed. But more than that,
So,
how many Hafs Qur'ans are there?
Just a moment. So they did not put the Hafs narration into the Hadith because they cannot trust him. But today they are reading the eternal word of Allah from Hafs.
Okay, hold on a minute. How many do we have Hafs original text?
I have 7 different Hafs Qurans.
There are 7 different Hafs Qur'an. Do any of them go back to 796?
No.
We don't have one manuscript that goes back to 796. So even the one that he chose in 1924 for only the city of Cairo, we don't even know if it is Hafs Qur'an.
So we have manuscripts which goes to the Ibn Amir's Quran, but we don't have manuscripts which goes to the Hafs Quran.
Okay, now
Yet.
Hatun, there were 39 different Qur'ans. One was chosen for the city of Cairo in 1924. What did they do with the other 36 Qur'ans?
So remember, Uthman burned all the Qurans. In 1924, they sink all the Qurans into the river.
Which river?
They took
In
all
Egypt.
the other 38 Qur'ans, they
All
took
what
them
they
onto a
had.
boat,
What they have. All what they have.
all what they had, which means about 38, they took them onto a boat and they threw them into the Nile River. They're still there today.
Pollution!
But hold on a minute.
Pollution!
You don't need to go and find them.
Kill the fish.
Because Hatun has already found 32 of them just by going to modern
They
day
are not for sharing,
marketplaces.
though. They are not for sharing. They need to
No,
go
I
and
know.
find.
But where did you find your 32?
Oh, well, if you go to the Muslim
of
majority
93.
countries, Nigeria, Yemen, Egypt, Morocco, those are very accessible for everyone to buy it, and it is much cheaper than the Hafs Quran.
Yeah,
So
much
you
cheaper
can
than-
still get these Qurans today. They are all different, but hold on a minute. Now remember what I said, that this was only for the city of Cairo in 1924. In 1936, the Egyptian government realized what a successful model the Cairan model was. And so they decided to make the Hafs Qur'an, chosen by Muhammad ibn Ali Husayni al-Haddad in 1924. They decided to make it Egypt-wide. So every Quran in Egypt then became standardized to the Hafs Qur'an, and it was known as the Farouk edition, named after King Farouk, who came to power in 1936. But that was only for Egypt.
Yeah. What happened in Damascus?
So here we go. Now let's get to his question. So what then, and how is it that the Hafs Qur'an became the standard Quran for the whole world? Anybody know?
Yeah, for money, money.
No, it was cheaper to get because the other one was cost more. So that one
In
was the cheapest.
1985.
With the green.
In 1985, King Fahd, who was king of Saudi Arabia at that time, seeing what had happened in Cairo, noticing what had happened in Egypt, realizing what a success it was, he decided that the Hafs Quran would be the standard Quran for the whole world. Now, how many people are older than 1985? Raise your hands. Every one of you that is raising their hands right now, you are older than the Quran. So the Quran that he is reading, he is correct. This is the Saudi Arabian Quran. But it was only chosen 34 years ago.
Which is proof I don't lie. I didn't lie.
Here's the sad thing. Have you noticed how the Dawah is looking their Quran? It is very serious. Islamic tradition tells us that Quran has been corrupted.
Which is good.
History tells us Quran has been corrupted. History tells us human beings stepped into the word of Allah and intentionally changed the word of Allah. And today, we have zero Quran from the time of Muhammad, zero Quran from time of Abu Bakr, zero Quran from time of Uthman.
You just said you have 93
Why we don't have it? Yeah, you left your ears at home. You don't even understand this serious claim we are making.
So can you see, there is not any Quran that we can find in the 1st century of Islam that's complete, right?
2nd centuryism.
We can't find any Quran that is complete from the 2nd century of Islam. That's the 9th century. We can't find any Quran that is complete by the 10th century. We can't find one Quran that is complete by the 11th century.
You mean we
So
can...
Muslims, where is your complete Quran?
JJ, you mean we cannot find any Quran from 10th and 11th century, which is exactly the same what we are reading today?
Yes, he should ask me, not you, because you are Christian. Why don't you ask me?
Dawadim, you have no answer.
Which I'm satisfied with.
It's only 34 years old! It only goes back to 1985! I'm older than that Quran! And so are most of you here today! Because there have been the only official Quran that has now been standardized by the Ibn Saud family and by King Fahd himself was in 1985. There are 39 different Arabic Qurans. The Hafs was chosen only 34 years ago. Now, what do we have said today? When Muslims have a problem with their Quran, what's the first thing they do? Well, unburn them, right? Then what do they do with the Sana manuscript? They washed it off when they didn't like it. Then what did they do? Hold on a minute. You notice they either burn the Quran or wash it off or throw it into the river. And that's not all. When they find a Quran that does not agree with the 1985 King Fahd Quran, they either erase it or insert it or delete it or cover it. Thank God we don't have that problem with the Bible.
Welcome to the world of Islam.
We cannot delete it. We cannot cancel it.
Have you seen Qurans that have been deleted? Have you seen them today?
We show the examples. Whatever you deny, physical evidence was in front of you. Today, you can lie and you can deny. Today, you can pretend you never seen it. But on the day of judgment, when you stand in front of Lord Jesus Christ, you will never able to deny. You will never able to turn blind eyes. It's not gonna help you. You will be accountable for the believing in corrupted Quran. So, here's the alternative for you, Yahya. While you are hungry for the perfect eternal word of God, while you are hungry for someone or something to tell you who got it. It is the way to cross. It is the cross of Christ will help you and then fit your hunger. Because Lord Jesus Christ is the perfect eternal word of God you are looking for. It is the Lord Jesus Christ, the perfect
a Christian. Now, folks, here we go. Here we go. We need to end this up. Bring it down. I want to remember what we said. Remember what we said at the very beginning. What did we say at the very beginning?
Speak me afterwards. Speak me. Yeah.
Please come on. Come on to Jesus Christ. Who is the King of Kings?
Jesus!
Who is the Lord of Lords?
Jesus!
Who is God in heaven?
Jesus!
Who is God on earth?
Jesus!
Who died on the cross?
Jesus!
Who then rose again?
Jesus!
Who is now in heaven?
Jesus!
Who waits for you and me?
Jesus!
Who wants to bring you home?
Jesus!
What's in need?
Jesus!
And hear you?
Jesus!
And again?
One question.
Thank you, Jay.
No, wait a minute, we're not finished yet. Okay, hold on a minute. We need to bring this to a conclusion.
One question.
Here we go.
Please, one question. Allow me one question. Allow me one question.
Of course you will ask question. You never answer the one question.
If I want to join Christianity, how can I trust a God who betrayed and forsake his son to die on the cross for his cross?
Let me respond. Let me respond.
Jesus went willingly to the cross. No one betrayed him.
Let me respond.
And everybody can receive his. You can do it even today.
Answer me.
But here,
Answer me.
Let me answer that
He
question.
prayed to God the Father.
I have a question for
to save
you.
him
I have a
from
question.
death.
Hang on.
I'm talking.
You control me.
Father to be saved.
okay, folks, let's wrap this up.
Are you
Hypocrite.
Are you going to heaven? Are you going to heaven? Answer the question.
James,
Okay, folks, what did we start out with today?
Where in the Quran says you have guaranteed to go to heaven?
Quiet. Okay, quiet. You're just going to give him oxygen. Don't talk, sir, talk later. Talk later, not now. Okay, did you notice? Sir, talk later, I'm sorry. Now, did you notice, what did we start out with? We started out with the biblical text, did we not? Did we make the claims about the Bible that the Muslims are making about the Quran? Absolutely not. Do we claim that this book is eternal? Do we claim that it was sent down over a 22-year period or any year period? Was it written by men? Yes. Do we know their names? Yes. Do we put their names on the books? Yes. Are they written over a period of 1,500 years? Yes. Jesus! My voice is gone. Yes. Everything the Muslims want, we've got. The things they want for their Quran, we've got in Jesus Christ. Can you see we can answer every question because of Jesus Christ? Folks, just come back to Jesus. He is the Word of God, the eternal Word of God. He never changes. He is complete, and He's here today. And we're saying hello to Jesus. God bless you. It's been great to be with you. Thanks, Hatun.
Thank you, James.
Jesus will take you away from me because he makes you